Hello and welcome back to the Passion Podcast, the show all about passion and purpose, where we speak to guests who have taken brave and bold moves towards living their best lives. Today's episode is none less than the amazing Amber Gordon, who has certainly taken those steps in her own life. Amber is the founder of Tailored Styling, which is a luxury personal shopping service where she assists high net worth clients all across the globe, from Europe to the States and even across Asia and Africa. The business works with several corporate clients and they've got over 10 years experience in the industry. The business sells over £1 million worth of goods yearly, and Amber and Tailored Styling have been featured in Channel 4 and on the Daily Mail. What I love about this episode though is how Amber speaks so candidly and honestly about her career and how it's not all about sort of the designer handbags and the beachfront views and all of the kind of luxe and glam that the industry kind of presents to us. She really does go into depth about how she's had doors slammed in her face and all of the embarrassing moments that she's faced along the way. And yeah, she really doesn't hold anything back in this interview. And for those looking to break into the industry, this is an incredible show as Amber shares all of her honest insights, all of the kind of steps that she's taken to get to where she's got to, and also how that you can stand out in a crowded and competitive space. Note, before we get into the show, if you could like, subscribe, comment if you're on YouTube as well. We'd love to hear from you. We want to know that you're getting value from these episodes and that you are enjoying this new format as well. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the show.
Oh, so Amber, thank you so much for joining today. Just to give listeners a little bit of background, obviously, you and I know each other from the gym. We used to go to the same gym together. And it's a funny one because I worked there and you were a member, and I don't think we actually spoke that much when we were at the gym.
It was like a little hi, how are you? And that was kind of it.
Yeah, exactly. I was in my sort of uni days, and you were someone that it's quite interesting because I think I always noticed you, and like I think somehow I saw your Instagram or something, and I was like, oh, this girl is cool. Like she's obviously doing bits with your business. And it's a funny one because at the time I don't think like entrepreneurship and business was something that had ever crossed my mind, but I think I always sort of respected women in business. So that's why I asked you to come on today, essentially to share your journey, the highs, the lows, and just a little bit about what you do to help other people who might be sort of interested in a career in the sort of styling and personal shopping industry. So I guess, first of all, if you could just sort of give me like a one-liner on what it is that you do.
Okay, so my business, we source, the main part of the business is sourcing luxury goods for wealthy clients that can't get those pieces in stores. So things like Rolexes that are waitlisted models that you couldn't just walk in and buy, I will give you access to that for a fee, of course. So you can have it immediately rather than waiting. We also do like the logistics of moving things around. So a lot of people don't have time, or they can't be bothered, or they might be, I've got clients that are, say, in Japan and they want something that's in Europe, and it might have been a Europe boutique exclusive. So I will help with the logistics, moving something around. And then the final thing is the styling appointments, so helping people put outfits together. That's actually originally what the business was meant to be when I started it. And it kind of, the sourcing side of it was just something I whacked up on the website because I saw that other people were doing it.
Right.
And I just, let me just pop this on here and see what happens. And it kind of just happened that is what started to make the money. So something that was meant to be a side thing that I wasn't in, actually what makes the most money for the business.
So that's become essentially the kind of, the forefront of your business now. Interesting. So talk to us a little bit about, how did you get to start your own thing? What was the journey? What were your jobs beforehand? And how did you know, right, I'm ready to, do it alone, essentially?
I definitely wasn't ready. I don't know when you're ever ready. I don't think there's ever a good time where you're going to be like, yes, I'm ready. So I went to uni to do fashion journalism. I was obsessed with being the editor of Vogue. That was like my dream when I was a teenager.
I can so see that.
Yeah.
Editor-in-chief.
Yeah, The Devil Wears Prada was like my favorite movie. So
yeah.
And I think that was kind of a time where the shift happened with print magazines then kind of becoming not as relevant as they had been because digital was taking over. So it was like a really, really weird time. But it's hard enough as it is to find a job in a print magazine as a writer, because if you imagine the entry level positions, there's probably only one, and if you imagine how many magazines there are in London, that's
not many.
like 5 or 6 jobs, and in my course alone there was like 50 girls, so it's very competitive. So anyway, I finished uni, couldn't get a job, so I took a job as a stylist rather than a writer at like a very niche luxury magazine. So it was like really specific, and I actually discovered this magazine during uni because I had to do a module on like, you pick a magazine and you analyze the whole thing.
Okay.
So I then emailed them.
Nice. So you're proactive, you reached out.
I reached out. I've always been very proactive. Like if I want to do something, it's going to happen. There's like,
nice.
Whenever I apply for jobs, back in the day when that was a thing for me, I would apply for like hundreds.
Where do you think that comes from? Just to sidetrack a little bit, that kind of confidence to just go for it.
I don't know, I think because I was always very shy as a teenager. Like I was not very outgoing at all when I was at school. I think it's just that feeling of like, I guess, my mum is quite an inspiration. My mum's a very strong woman. Like she had me when she was really young, and she started off as a nursery nurse, like assisting in nurseries. And she's now the head teacher of a prep school. So awesome. She has, she's very much like climbed her way up the ladder, and she had me, when she was young. She did a degree at the same time. So I think it's just that thing of like
had that role model.
Yeah, like that's what I've seen growing up. If you want something, you go and get it. So I started working for this magazine doing styling, and where it was a smaller magazine, I think what had happened, they kind of run out of money. I was going to be the first one to go. And I just kind of thought, I think I was like 24 at the time, and I just thought, my boyfriend at the time, he had his own business as well, and he even said to me, encouraged me to do it. He's like, don't get a job, like don't, just try and do your own thing, like you live at home, we're together at the moment, like why don't you just try and do your own thing? So I thought, okay, I'm going to try. So it came up with the idea that I was going to do the styling, and it kind of just went from there.
So had you done any styling before, or was this completely new?
So there's a big difference between personal styling and styling for a magazine, because if you imagine when you're styling for a magazine, it's not things that you're going to wear every day, and you're dressing a model whose job it is to just wear what they're told.
Yes.
Get on with it. Whereas when you're styling a person, they come with like
preferences and
insecurities, their own opinions. So it's a completely different thing. And no, I'd never done any personal styling when I started this.
I feel like that would be such like a fun thing. I feel like every girl should have a styling session, because how does your style even come about? Like I have no idea what my style is. I'm just like, that's quite nice, and like I don't think it's very consistent, and I feel like I need to have like a styling session.
Most people do have like a consistent, even if you don't think you have a style, everyone has like a consistent thing that they always kind of go for. Like my mum and my sister can always pick things out and be like, this is really Amber. That's so spot on.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like, yeah, it happens without you kind of realizing, but it probably be a good thing. Like, I feel like that would be like a good initiation into like teen years, like get a little styling session, know what your sort of clothing look should be all about. Because yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I guess you just kind of like copy and are very influenced by what you see on celebs and just online, you know what I mean? Yeah, whereas like I feel like people who've got their own sort of very personal, unique style, you're like, oh, that's cool, but how did you sort of come up with that? Yeah. Okay, cool, thank you. So I want to ask, I'm starting to ask guests a little bit about kind of the most sort of weird or perhaps your least favorite job you've had that has helped you in some way to do what you do today.
So like things not relevant to what I do now.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I can only imagine you as like a top end, super stylish, you know.
I've had my fair share of shit jobs. I've had a lot of shit jobs. My first ever job was as a Saturday girl in a hair salon.
Okay.
Sweeping up hair and making tea.
Okay.
And I think that was a time in my life still quite reserved. I was very shy, and it was in a very wealthy area, so a lot of the women that came in, I was like obsessed with their handbags. So
nice.
I would make tea for these women. Like, oh my god, your lifestyle is insane, like the clothes they wore, the shoes and everything. So I think that in its own way kind of like
it planted a seed, probably.
Yeah. Nice. And even a job I had after that was in the same area, and I worked in Waitrose on the till. I bet you can't imagine that, knowing me now.
No.
I was
still high end, right? Like in terms of all of the supermarkets. Yeah.
It had to be
Yeah, it had to be.
I hated it. Like I couldn't stand it. I absolutely couldn't stand it. Like the stock is like quite grubby where it's been stored, so a lot of the time you're like, when you're touching things and putting it through the till, your hands get really dirty. the beeping, like beep beep.
Oh god, beep. I can imagine.
I like dream about that beep in my sleep.
Yeah, like I've got to get out of this. I've got to.
Yeah, that was a terrible job. I'm trying to think what else. I've had a lot of jobs that I don't like. So even a job that is not necessarily considered a terrible job, I just found it really mundane. So like working in retail.
Yeah.
Like, I worked for Kurt Geiger shoes.
Which you'd think would be a nice job.
I found it boring, I think. Like there's no, and I think it's not the job itself, it's the fact that it wasn't for me.
Like, I guess
the money wasn't for me. Like I'm not building for me. It's a job. Like whatever it's the same. I think that's what was missing for me, because there's nothing hugely different about what I do now. I'm still selling. It's just a different product, and like each win is a win for me rather than it being a win for a business.
Yeah.
Like funnily enough, so I moved through a few places. So I worked at Kurt Geiger, which is more like high street. Then I went to Liberty, which is like a very for anyone that doesn't know, it's like a very quirky department store, but that's luxury. And then I was at Selfridges, and a lot of friends that I made, you know, there's kind of a little community within luxury retail, so everyone knows everyone moves around. And I've kept some of these years for like these friends for absolutely years. And there was always a running joke in every store I worked in that Amber doesn't sell anything. I've never sold anything. I was always I was always the one making the least commission. I couldn't be bothered. Like I
love the honesty here.
I just couldn't be bothered with the, you know, like being told what to do. you have to ask permission to go to the bathroom, like,
yeah.
person, you have to say things this way. I absolutely couldn't stand it.
You're obviously very self-driven then in that sense, and you must, because you've been running a successful business for how many years now? Have you had tailored styling?
I started 6 years ago.
Right, so it's obviously not due to like laziness, right? Because you wouldn't still be here.
It was never a laziness thing. It was just it. I think I have like a problem with authority.
Yeah, I feel your sister.
I have like a strange problem with authority, and I hated being told what to do, and I just hated the fact that I don't know that, like I said, it wasn't for me. Like, whereas now I'll work, I get up early, and I'll probably still be on my phone until just before I go to bed, but everything I sell is going in my pocket, it's benefiting my business. I think that was the difference for me.
And I think that's a really good takeaway for people, because let's say you love fashion, right? And you go and you work for Harrods or Selfridges or all these places, and you're not feeling driven and you're not doing well on paper, right? Your sales figures aren't great. You can look at that and go, why is it? And it's the same with me, right? Like, I came from a more kind of, it wasn't corporate job, but just being employed, right? And towards like the last year, I was kind of the same. I was just like, I just can't be arsed anymore. Like, I'm just not driven. And I started to think, like, am I shit at this? Like, is it me? But actually, I'd been very successful before. So it's like, no, it's obviously not me. And it took me leaving to realize, oh, okay, I needed to be alone so that I could realize I want to do my own thing. So
I think there's nothing wrong, like, and this is one thing that I don't think is healthy, that I see a lot on Instagram, is the push of you should be your own boss, everyone should be their own boss. That's not true at all, and there's nothing wrong with having a job. Like, some people love the security of a 9 to 5, some people don't want the burden, because I'll tell you now, it is an absolute burden.
Yeah.
You can't switch off, like it, and it's exhausting. Like, sometimes my family get annoyed at me, like when things were open back in the day, we could be at a restaurant and I've got my phone and and they're like, put the phone down, and it's like, you can't certain things you can't ignore. So the benefit almost of having a job is that you can just go there 9 to 5 and then you switch off.
You're going to get paid, and like you say, you can switch off. And we were talking about this before we pressed record, right? In that, I mean, I think especially young people, and it's funny because this is kind of what this podcast is about, getting people to go after the thing they love. But actually, through kind of recording and speaking to more people about this, that's kind of a realization that I've come to, that doesn't have to mean quitting your job and starting your own thing. You can follow your passion, which might be fashion, which is so cliche, like passion for fashion. But feel like a 13-year-old, like. But it might be that, but you can be employed and do that and have a really successful, incredible career. And like you said about your mum, like she grew to be a head teacher, and I'm sure she loves that career, and the ladder that she, so not everyone has to definitely start their own thing.
I've got tons of friends who work for like big companies, online stores, department stores, in their personal shopping departments, and they love it. They love it, and their jobs are great. They earn good money. It's just when they go home, if they want to, they can switch off. They don't need to reply to clients, whereas I do.
Really? So with your, and that's actually something that like I'd love to know more about. Do you have like boundaries that you've set with clients, or is it just, is your messages open?
It depends how much money they spend.
Really nice. I like, again, the honesty is good.
Yeah, like I try and get back to everyone, like every all jokes aside, every client is important to me, whether they spend £100 with me or £50,000. Like, everyone is important to me. But there's certain clients that do spend so much that they require special attention. So because for the fact there's so many personal shoppers in the world, there's so many people that do what I do. And if you're not on top of people and you're taking ages to reply, they will go somewhere else. If they want a quick answer, they will go somewhere else. So if you want to keep that person and they're important enough to you, you need to get back to them as soon as possible. Or at the very least, if I'm setting a boundary, I will reply to someone on the weekend and say, hi, yeah, like, I'll check this for you on Monday when I'm back at work.
Nice.
So you're not completely ignoring. Don't get me wrong, there is times where I'm so overwhelmed because my phone goes off all the time. And I think people forget that I'm a human being and there's only so much that I can do, and they'll say, oh, but just this, can you just check that, can you just check this? And I'm like, but there's like 20 other people asking me just. And it just becomes like I'm working 24 hours. So like, you do have to set boundaries. And, you know, sometimes I'll completely switch off and I'll just turn the phone off and people have to wait. Because I think I forget as well that at the end of the day, I am selling luxury handbags. You know, we're not saving lives. When people put pressure on you, sometimes people will put so much pressure on you. I need an answer for this. I'm like, we're not doctors. We're not saving people from cancer. Like,
and that's good. It's probably good to build that rapport with your client as well, right? Because, you know, I'm also a big believer that people buy from people, and I'm sure that you've built up great relationships with your clients so that they probably want to shop via you, right?
I think it's important, that's super important. Because how you deal with anyone else if you don't do that.
Exactly. I'm interested to know, like, what is a day in the life? Like, talk me through, because it looks insane. Like, your Instagram is like bikinis, cocktails, incredible handbags, incredible shoot. Like, is it as glamorous as it looks?
No, that's definitely the Instagram is, everyone deep down knows this. Like, Instagram is a highlights reel, and that stuff is real. It does happen,
course.
It's
not green screened.
Yeah, like, I'm not sipping cocktails by a pool every day. It doesn't work like that. Like, most days I'm in my house packing boxes in my tracksuit bottoms with not a scrap of makeup on. I probably haven't washed my hair in like a week. It's not as glamorous as it looks, but that's the glamour is like it is part of the business. That's what people want to see. Like, people are not interested in real life, so I feel like that's something that you have to show almost to
well,
to
it's
make
the personal brand.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
And, you know, it is authentic, because anytime I've ever seen you in public, you know, you always look great, and there is an element, you obviously like to take care of yourself, right?
No, that's definitely, you know, that's definitely a thing. And like, with regards to the bikinis and the cocktails and all of that stuff, that does happen. Like, sometimes I have to travel for work, and I've made the most amazing friends from this business. So like, I can go to Dubai, and I've now got friends that I don't need to go with anyone. I could go to Dubai for work.
Amazing.
For a couple of days. There's people that I can hang out with. I can go to Singapore, and there's people that I can call. Like, I've got a lot of suppliers in Singapore that I buy from, who I'll go. They show me all the nice restaurants. We'll go for dinner. Like, it's so much fun.
How do you build those type of relationships? Like, is it graft? Or did you know them before? Like,
some people I knew, some people I have known before that I didn't think that they would be beneficial to my business. I just knew them from wherever, and then they kind of, I think once people see what you're doing and that you're passionate about it, they will, you know, if they see an opportunity, they'll put themselves forward and say, oh, I know somebody that does this, or like, I can help you with that.
Nice.
But other than that, the newer people, it's just searching. Like, I found a ton of people on Instagram. Instagram is so important for my business. Like, I found so many people on Instagram. I met a lot of people out. So like, the lifestyle that you talk about seeing on Instagram, when I'm out, I'm always switched on. So like, even if I'm out with my friends, if I'm on holiday, I'm in a beach club, I'm in a restaurant, the types of places that I go to that I naturally enjoy
Makes sense.
where my clients or my targeted clientele would hang out. So like, for example, when I was in Dubai a couple of months ago, I was by the pool and there was this guy with his family sitting next to us, and I saw what watch he was wearing.
Right.
And I
You're working even when you're at the pool, Amber.
I mentally noted, oh, that's a really nice watch. And he, I think the next day we saw him again, we were sitting next to him again, and he said something to me, you know, like passing comment about food or something. And then I just brought up his watch, just in conversation, like, oh, I really like your watch, like, and he was like, oh, how do you know about watches? And then I explained what I did. And it turns out that on the side, he kind of flips watches. So he buys watches from the store and sells them. So that's instantly like a new contact that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
I think the, one thing that someone taught me actually that kind of ties into this is I used to be quite reserved and not very chatty in public. So, you know, if I'm stuck in a lift with someone, I wouldn't necessarily speak to them or say hi to them. And someone once said to me, you never know who someone is that's standing behind you in the line, or, you know, you're stuck in a lift with them, you pass them on the stairs, you don't know who someone is. So like
100%.
You should always speak to people. Like, why wouldn't you speak to someone and say hi to them? Like, you don't know, without being, you know, grabby. It's not like you want something from them, but like, if you always have your head down, how are you looking for?
Absolutely. Do you think it was it a confidence thing that you didn't speak to people, or because I'm like the opposite of that, right? So it's interesting to hear. Yeah, like, and I like almost have to stop myself because I end up in like hour conversations with random people, and I'm like, oh God, like I need to be getting on with stuff, you know. So yeah, was it a confidence thing, or is it more just like you're more introverted?
I'm such a weird personality when I try and evaluate myself, because I wouldn't call myself an introvert. Like, if you put me in the middle of a party, I will speak to anyone. But I think I'm quite focused and one-track minded. So like, I could be walking down the street and an explosion could go off next to me. If I'm on my
she's thinking about designer handbags.
I'm in my thought process. I will not even notice what's going on next to me. So a lot of the time, it's not rudeness and it's not shyness. It's just like I'm so in my own head that I don't notice things going on around.
And that's obviously served you well, and you know that's a great trait for any entrepreneur to have. You have to be one-track minded. You've got to know where are we heading, you know, and focus on the task at hand. You can't be kind of here, there, everywhere. That's something that I'm slowly realizing. So I might take some more offline tips from you on how to just be a bit more in my own zone. Yeah, exactly. You mentioned that Instagram was a big part of what you do. Would you say that was the kind of main, is that like your marketing platform? Like, where would you be without it?
Oh my God, I would be fucked. I would. I don't know what I would do. My worst nightmare. I actually had a dream once. This is so funny.
God.
I had a dream once, and it was a nightmare, that a guy was trying to chat me up, and I completely wasn't having it, and he got angry at me because I wasn't entertaining it. Right. And him and his friends decided to they somehow hacked my Instagram and took it. And such a strange dream. They hacked my Instagram and they took it, and it would be such a big thing for me if someone took my Instagram away, you know, both because I've got my personal Instagram and the business one. Both of those are so valuable to the business. I don't know what I would do. And
you've got a really strong following on both. Have you got any tips on sort of how you built that following?
It's so different now. Like, I think when I started it was slightly easier because it was before they changed the algorithm. So like, if I start a new page now, I don't think it would be so, not that it was easy, but I think it's even harder now to build a page. But I think the main thing is like community. So like what are you what are you giving other people rather than what are they giving you. Like, I think people get very hung up on like, well, who's liking this post, who's commenting this post, but like, are you commenting back? Like,
oh, that's big.
Yeah, like, is there a conversation there? Because if there's not, then why would people follow you? Like,
Yeah,
the word
that's
is social. Like, if you're not commenting back, you're not going to get anything from it. So like, I'm definitely guilty of this. Like, sometimes I'm not going to say that I reply to everyone because it would be impossible. But as much as I can, like, if someone replies to my story or comments on something, I comment back. I try and reply to them, so there's a conversation there.
amazing.
And like, especially with fashion, I think a lot of girls don't show their personality enough. So like, it can become like just a mood board of things that look very pretty, but like, what about the girl behind that? Like,
100%.
I personally would rather follow somebody that talks on story or like shows you other aspects of their life, because you kind of get to know that person, and
Definitely.
you see that there's more to that person. Whereas if it's just a bunch of like handbags, like, I find that's completely boring.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something that a lot more people are moving towards. Maybe it's like an impact of the whole sort of COVID situation and people having way more time at home on their phones. But like, I feel like a lot of people have become a little bit more sort of almost transparent, and like, you see the whole kind of picture now. And I agree, I love that. I love to see that. And that's what really makes you connect more so than, again, like what we said, that's what makes you different. You, like the girl behind the handbags, not just, you know, the lifestyle, which is obviously a big part of it. But
I think it's important, like, even a lot of people that follow my personal Instagram, they know my dogs. Like, they love my dogs. They like.
Do you have a personal Instagram? I think I. Oh wait, is it the one I follow, right?
The one that you follow is my one that I use for business, but it's me as a person. So you see a lot of aspects of my life.
Yeah.
Whereas the tailored styling one is just, it's literally just a business.
Pure business.
Yeah, you wouldn't know the person behind it. But the one that you follow, I share a lot of my personal life on there. So like, when I go on holiday with my friends, you see our nights out, you see things about my family, you see my dogs and things like that.
Definitely.
Just the business.
Yeah, 100%. And would you say it was important to have both, to have the business and the personal?
I think so, because different people want different things. So like, I think I've always tried to be the face of my business for the comfort factor for people. So I think it's much easier to buy, I'm talking like when people buy really big things from me. If somebody that's never met me and found me on Instagram wants to buy like a 50-gram watch,
Jesus.
Are you going to feel more comfortable buying it from someone who you can see their face and their whole life?
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
a blank Instagram page who really could be anyone?
Yeah.
But then I think there's two sides to it. So like, some people feel comfortable on the business page because it's like they can see the formalities,
the professional kind of side of it.
But then other people will come through my other Instagram and they can see me just being me, and that gives them some kind of comfort that I'm like a real person and I'm not trying to rob them.
Definitely. Yeah. When you're spending that kind of money, like, what's the most expensive order that you've received?
There was a watch that I sold. It was to a company who had a client. Was £250,000 watch. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow! And
I got one that was, I think it was about £150,000. And a guy he came through Instagram.
Oh, really? Just found you via Instagram. See, this is the power, like you say, of the community and the personal brand. And
messaged me on Instagram, and I thought, I get a ton of people asking about things, but not as many that will order. Like, there's a lot of people just inquiring on pricing. So when he asked, I thought, there's no way you're going to buy that. Like, you're absolutely not going to buy it. So I even took quite a while to reply because it went to the bottom of the list.
Just like, nah.
But he's not going to buy that. And then he kind of kept chasing me on it. So I was like, okay, let me get him a price. And they said, okay, yeah, I'll have it. Can you invoice me? And even as I was doing the invoice, I thought, he's not, like, there's no way he's going to
not, was it a normal human, or was it like a big dog? Was it like celeb status?
I feel like there's so many levels of wealth, and his family, from what I understand, are so wealthy that they are hidden. So they're the type of people that you can, if you type their name into Google, you will not find them.
Wow. So underdog.
Yeah.
Which is probably the best of all, right? Because then you just sort of like enjoying it on the slide.
I think some people are so wealthy that you know, some people I'll find, they'll ask me things, I type them in Google, I do it all the time.
Yeah, do you? I love it. Net worth. Can they afford this? Are they wasting my time?
I do my research.
I'm actually laughing now because for the listeners, I went to Amber. I don't know if you remember this, Amber. And I thought I was like cool uni student. I was like, oh, I want to like get a personal shopping service. I asked you for like a £200 pair of Nike trainers. You probably were like laughing at me.
No, I think I vaguely remember you asking, but we already knew each other then.
Yeah.
We did already know each other then. And I do, don't get me wrong, like I sell things. I do sell.
Do you sell stuff like that? Yeah.
Yeah, probably like the lowest thing I've sold would be like trainers, like £150. Sometimes I've sold rings, £150. Like they're still, those things are still important.
Because it was, I can't remember what trainers they were, but I remember they were like out of stock everywhere. So, and I guess that is your service, right? It's for people that are looking for products that they can't source themselves.
Yeah.
So, okay. And this might be inappropriate and you don't have to share, but what sort of, if you want to, what sort of cut do you get from like a
funnily enough,
share
the last video that I did for Channel 4, they were really desperate for me to talk about this as well, and I told them no.
Oh, really? So if Channel 4 can't get it.
No, I'm not, because I'll tell you why. I don't think it's appropriate, because a lot of clients will see these videos and it's just not something that they need to know. Like, they don't need to know for them to then tell me, oh.
Totally understand.
One of my friends, he used to, he did very well for himself, but his job, you maybe wouldn't have known that he did that well for himself, and he always hid his car. So he would never drive in his car. He had a very nice car. He would never drive in his car to see his clients, because he didn't want anyone to know what he made. And you know, I'm not making, you know, groundbreaking money, because I've lived at home all this time. I'm only just moving out of home. We spoke about that you know, just before, and I've needed to be at home
in order to sustain. And that
but I do make more money than I ever thought that I could have made,
which is incredible.
There's definitely months where I'm like, oh my god, is that
how,
you know, like, how did I even do that? But it's
and to build that on your own as well is incredible. Like, I'm at the very sort of beginning stage of trying to start something, and I'm like, I just want to go back to me, you know, 9 to 5. I'm like, how am I ever going to make what I made? Like, I can't see it. But I
had that stage for like a good 3 years. Like a good 3 years, I made absolutely pennies off of doing this.
Wow.
Significantly more broke than all of my friends with jobs.
See, this is real talk, people, because I think sometimes these podcasts can be a little bit, you know, now go after your dreams, and it's not all fly.
I always tell the truth. I was very, very broke, like very broke, because you need the time to be able to put in your business, but you also need to be able to pay your bills. So I, at the time, was working 2 days a week at Selfridges. And then I took 3 days a week to put into my business. But you know, when you like I didn't know anything about business when I first started. I knew nothing, like absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
When I think about all the time that I spent doing things that really did not help at all, you know, like trying to learn how SEO works. I spent probably like weeks trying to learn about that.
Do you think you would ever like do some sort of course to help people? You really remind me, just talking to you now, I'm like, you're such like a Sophia Amasuro type character. Do you know her?
I love her. She was one of the first books. Girl Boss was one of the first books I read.
Me too.
I still got it on my shelf. It's a great first self-help book.
God, you actually look like her. It's weird now.
I've like morphed into her somehow because she inspires me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But yeah, I spent a lot of time not earning any money because and a lot of time faffing around, I think, but you're not going to know that you were faffing around unless you take the time out to do that. Like all of the things that I now think were a waste of time were not a waste of time because I learned certain things. But it just meant that while my friends were making like a full-time wage, I was literally earning two days a week wage in retail. So things that they could afford to do, I couldn't afford to do. I couldn't afford to buy myself clothes. I couldn't afford to do a lot of things.
Wow.
I just had this weird determination that this is going to work. Maybe it was stupidity or I don't know what it was, but I just had this like, no, I'm just going to keep trying. I'm just going to keep going with this.
Yeah, and it paid off. And I think so just going back a little bit, one, would you ever do a course that would to help someone to and the reason I ask is because I sneakily am plug in this mentorship thing that you're doing now. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but I know you said to me that since you've done the Channel 4 interview, you've had loads of people reach out, and perhaps more people will reach out to you after listening to this podcast, and I'm sure in the future anyway with the platforms that you have. So do you think, would you ever be interested in like helping other people who want to go down the same route?
Definitely. Like I think it's something that I never had. Like everyone talks about having a mentor and I never had that. Like I have someone now that I would consider to be my mentor who does something similar to me, and she is my go-to when I have issues or I have problems. I call her, and it's just like a reassurance, like, oh, I'm thinking to do this, but what do you think about this? I'll always
like an accountability kind of partner.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really good to have because none of my very close friends have businesses as well. So like it can be, you know, as much as I love those friends, some things I can't speak to them about to do with the business because they just, you know, like it's not even on their radar to think about things like that. So it's a good thing to have a mentor. But going back to what you were saying, the Channel 4 video, I've had so many people messaging me saying like, can you teach me? It's not that easy because like I was saying, I think you have to go through the shit. Like you can't just have someone give you all the answers and then you go and do it. Like if you cannot deal with learning
as you go,
and being in an uncomfortable situation to learn, how are you going to even begin to deal with the uncomfort of being in a business? Because it doesn't stop, it just gets harder. So I think that's one thing that's important, but it is also important to have support and someone to guide you, like not hand you the answers, but to guide you. So this Mentoric thing, it's a good friend of mine who's working on this business, Mentoric, they're creating a platform where I will and other influencers will be able to, you know, share what you've learned with people, and they would pay to be on a podcast or be on, you know, whatever. So that's definitely something that I'm going to be doing.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I think, the point you made that, you know, sometimes you do just have to go for it, fail, try again, fail a bit more, and you're gonna, like you say, in any business journey, face so many hurdles. If you read any book on business, like, you know, Nike, the founder of Nike, you know, Jeff Bezos, anyone, I'm thinking of only men annoyingly, but like Sophia Amoruso, like, oh my goodness, her story, she's like, she failed after she built like a $1 billion business.
She failed publicly, and then she even bounced back from that. Like that is impressive in itself.
Yeah. So yeah, you definitely need some level of grit and resilience sort of built in, and at least awareness.
I think people just want it handed to them, but it doesn't work like that. Like when I think about the amount of people I emailed to try and get them to buy from me or work with me, it's kind of embarrassing. How many doors slammed in your face? Please buy from me. Hello. And it feels like you're being ignored. It was genuinely like that, and you feel like everyone is ignoring you and no one is interested, but I didn't give two shits.
Oh, I love that. That's so funny you say that, because I don't know why I do this, but I'm going to make a little confession here. But I reach out to like real big dogs sometimes just because I'm like, I'm just going to try my luck. And I've actually reached out to Sophia Amoruso and been like, do you want to come on my little small-time podcast? But I think I do it. I know deep down, and to be honest with you, I don't actually want, I do like one day want her on the podcast, but I want her on the podcast when I'm at that level. You know, she has achieved, you know, great things. And actually it would probably be a bit weird to speak to her. I'd probably be like hugely fangirling, even more than I fangirl my guests already. So, you know, so I actually think it's really good to just, be relentless, reach out to people. Like all you can get is a no. And
I think people are very uncomfortable with failing. They're extremely uncomfortable with failing, and part of being the best is having failed 1,000,001 times, because if you don't fail, how do you ever learn how to be better? So like if you're not prepared to fail and fall on your face and lose your dignity.
Have you got an example of a time that you fell on your face hard?
I'm trying to think.
I'm sure, I feel like those kinds of experiences we kind of lock up and throw away the key, like never want to remember that again.
I'm trying to remember. There was one time where I was going through a really shitty time with my ex, and it completely threw me off. Like sometimes personal life, when it's not the healthiest, can really get in the way. This is a whole other conversation, by the way, but it can massively hinder you from doing what you need to do in other areas of your life. And it was at a time when I was not really making a lot of money. I needed another job. I think I needed another part-time job, and I'd gone to somebody who owns probably a business around the same size as my business is now.
Okay.
I wanted her to employ me part-time, and I went to meet her, and she was a very like tough personality, and I don't know what happened to me. I think it was a combination of her being very tough and what I was going through in my personal life. I just completely froze. It was the most embarrassing thing. I completely froze, and she kept firing these questions at me that I just couldn't answer, and I froze, and it was just awful. And she even like at the end of it, she said, oh, you know, like email me. And I went away and I didn't even email her, because I was like, I know it went so horrifically badly. I'm just not even gonna bother. Like it's that embarrassing. But what it did teach me is don't let your personal life fix your personal life first before you're even trying to attempt to do these things, because you know that
100% it all interlinks. And yeah, you could have literally had an argument with friend, boyfriend, whatever that morning, and then if you're going to try and have an interview or whatever it is, then I completely see that point. And actually I'm sure now, like, you know, the thing is, these embarrassments in that moment, it's like I want the ground to swallow me up, and oh my goodness, like how am I ever going to recover from this? But now, like, you know, you're laughing, like it's.
I mean, yeah, I to be honest, now my business is probably around the same size as hers. To be
Amazing.
honest, which is amazing in itself. But that's what I mean. It's those small things that, like,
let that be the fuel.
Yeah, like you have to go through these knocks and these embarrassments and like this putting yourself out there when it doesn't go the way you want it. You need those things to be able to succeed. So like some people will not even be brave enough to get to that stage. So like people that are out there trying, at least trying, and even if they're failing, I really respect those people more than people who just aren't doing anything.
And usually, yeah, this is so true, because I think as well in the start of your journey, before you've almost like proved yourself to the world, I think that's the hardest part, because it's like, who do I think I am, you know, launching a podcast, or, you know.
I remember being on Instagram and like saying, you know, like changing my bio to I'm a personal shopper, because my business wasn't even there yet and I probably didn't even have any clients yet. It feels like, but I'm not
Yeah.
I'm trying to be that, but I'm not that you just have to kind
affirmation,
of like,
you got,
yeah, like you have to run with it.
yeah, you've just got to put it out there. This is what I am, and then you almost have to become it, right? It's like, well,
there's this saying, I don't know who said it, but you're as important as people think you are. So like if people think you're important, then you're important. That's it. Yeah. Like when I first started doing this, like I'll let you in on one of my secrets. When I first started doing this on Instagram, I used to buy things and take pictures of it and then put it on Instagram and say that I'd sold it to a client.
Wow.
When there was not even a client there.
That's incredible.
Yeah, like say I'd sold it to a client and then I'd either sell it on eBay or I'd return it and get the money back.
That's genius. It's genius.
Yeah, but it's that thing.
It's using your creativity to, yeah.
People start to believe, you know, unless you show people what you're doing, they're not. You could tell people that you do something, you know, as much as you want, they're not going to believe it until they see it.
100%.
So I used to do that, and then people would see it, and then, oh, okay, I'm just doing this. And you just have to run with it.
Yeah, love that. That's great advice. And yeah, I mean, even things like testimonials, you know, your first few testimonials, even like my podcast ratings, I'll let you into a secret now. Like I messaged like 20 of my friends, like, could you please leave me a rating? Like, it's got to be done. How is anyone else going to find me if, you know, if those people don't support you in the first instance? So
one of my old bosses at the magazine that I was talking about, in some ways he was not the best boss, but he taught me so much, like so much, especially about luxury and about business. And he said to me, if people ask you to do something, just say yes. It doesn't matter whether you can do it or not. It doesn't matter whether you know how to do it or not. Just say yes and then work it out after.
Amazing.
Because it's like, if you tell yourself you can't do something, then how are you ever going to learn to do it? Just say yes. I've definitely done this. Said yes to things that I know.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I know absolutely nothing about them. I won't be specific in case anyone listening in. But I've definitely done things where I've said, yeah, I can do that. I know loads about this, where I don't know anything. And I just try and make it work.
Figured it out.
When you're under pressure, you will make it work. It will happen for you.
100%. Just before we start to wrap up, I read in an article that your granddad is a quite humble kind of guy, and he's always sort of saying to you, Amber, why would you buy a £500 pair of trainers when you could buy 5 for 100, right? I like this guy. He's got a point, right? But what I'm wondering is, if there was one investment that, like, you know, maybe a more sort of normal earner makes, What would be like your go-to kind of like wardrobe staple that everyone should invest in? What's worth the splurge? Yeah, this is probably quite a hard one. Like take your time.
I would say like a decent handbag.
Nice.
Like buy yourself a really decent handbag. Like a lot of the way that I dress myself is I will spend money on accessories. So say like shoes and bags and the odd nice pair of like earrings or something like that. And then quite often I'll wear, like when I'm on holiday, I wear Misguided a lot of the time, like a £15 dress. Or like I'll buy, I shop in Topshop, not anymore now that it's gone, but it's going to be on ASOS.
Oh yeah. Is it? Has it been bought by? Okay.
Yeah, ASOS bought Topshop, so all the stores are closing, but the Topshop brand is going to be available on ASOS still.
Can still get our Joni jeans.
Yeah, I know, that's my favourite.
Yeah.
I wear a lot of high street clothes and then spend money on accessories, because it just, I think accessories make your outfit look a whole lot more expensive. Like a lot of the time I don't need to wear like a £2,000 dress to look like I have money, but if you have, you know, a really nice bag, and even if you can't afford a nice bag new, pre-owned is such a good way of shopping for luxury. Like you can get so many good deals on, you know, there's tons of good stuff on eBay, on Vestiaire Collective is another good one. Nice. Where you can buy something that someone might have owned. My first Chanel bag actually was £500, which is unheard of now, because that was quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
I used my student loan.
Stop. Oh my goodness.
I was on a fashion course. Every single girl on that course used their student
had a Chanel
bags. So I bought a Chanel bag off of a resale site, and it was like baby pink suede, but it was so old and battered that it was kind of like dusty pink.
Cool.
It was like dusty pink when I bought it. By the time I was done with it, I'd been clubbing everything with this bag. It was even dirtier. It was the dirtiest thing, but I still managed to sell it for what I bought it for, because Chanel holds its value very,
this
very,
is
very
the
well.
Thing with I feel like this is luxury shopping is also like, it's investing, isn't it? If you know your stuff, I don't know anything about like luxury shopping, but I'm sure if you do, like you can probably buy and then sell for more. Like with Yeezys.
A lot of clients come to me for watches, investing in watches. So there's some models that like I was selling 2-3 years ago for maybe 100 grand that are now worth 150. So if you'd have literally bought that watch and sat on it for 3 years and just left it in a safe, you've made 50 grand.
That's crazy. You'd never think that, like, that wouldn't even cross my mind. Like, I've actually recently started to sort of look into investments and like the stock market and, you know, different sort of avenues. But I might be in touch, Amber. Get myself a little investment piece.
Can buy now and sell later.
Can you wear it though? That's the question, or not really?
Some Chanel bags you can. So Chanel, they put up the prices. There's always a price increase. And a bag I bought a stock last summer, I've already made extra money on it because they put the price up of the bag by £200.
Amazing.
So like literally by just holding it, you've made money.
That's crazy. Wow. Incredible. The investment platform we didn't even know about. Okay, so just before we wrap up and share where everyone can find your work, I just want to run you through our lightning round. We do it on every podcast, so it's just 4 key questions. So first is, what is your why? Why do you do what you do?
Because I love it.
Nice.
Obsessed with it.
Amazing.
I'm obsessed with luxury fashion. I do it because before I couldn't afford it, so it meant that I got to have this stuff in my hands. But I do it because I love it.
The most important thing. Love that. That's what this podcast is all about. Your one key tip for someone looking to start their own thing?
Resilience, I think.
Nice.
Just keep bouncing back. keep going. Don't let things get you down.
Love that. Love that. There's this girl that I follow on Instagram, because you said that. She's called Mimi Bouchard, and she used to be like a reality. Yeah, she's cool. She used to be like on reality TV, and she's had like a bit of a transformation, but she always talks about bounce back rate, and she's like, just, it's like learning to get back quicker. It's like, you know, the first time something crap happens, you're probably gonna cry about it. It's gonna take you a day. The second time, half a day, and eventually just like, boom, okay, you said no, no worries.
It's so true. Like, I get messages sometimes like, oh, can you help me? You know, like I've started my own sneaker reselling business. You know, how can I make money from it? And I'll be like, well, how long have you been doing it? Oh, 6 months. Come back and ask me the question in 3 years.
In
like,
3 years.
Like, it's not even long enough to come and ask this question. Like, just keep like 6 months is not enough time.
100%. Yeah, love that. In it for the long game. One thing that you couldn't live without? Your dusty pink Chanel bag?
No, that went already. So
it's a goner.
This is a really soppy one. I would say my family and friends. They're the people that pick you up when you're feeling shitty. They're like my escape from stress of the business. I couldn't live without my family and friends. Like, what's the point in doing all of this? Like, the money that I make is to enjoy with my family and friends. Like, what's the point in doing it if you're not going to share it with people?
100%. I love that. That's so important. We can easily, I think when you're young as well, you get so lost in like chasing it all, the money, the status, everything, that you can easily forget that. So that's a very important reminder.
Yeah, I've definitely grown a lot. Like, I would say when I was younger, I probably would have said something stupid to answer to that question. Or
yeah, well, it would have been like a bag or something material, probably.
Yeah, I think because I'm around the material things so much, they're still so special, but like, it's just a bag or a watch at the end of the day. It's not life-saving. It's special, but it's not everything.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there is something special. Like, every day, for instance, like, I've got these 2 bracelets, and I love them because they remind me of the friends that got them for me. You know what I mean? So yeah, they can be like, have a really nice sentimental sort of value, and you look great. So it's all good. And then the last one is, where is your happy place? Is there like a location that you love? Like, you travel a lot, which we didn't actually talk about. You travel a lot with your job, right?
That's such a good one. I have quite a few, you know. I have quite a few. Do you want just one, or can I list?
You can tell us a few, yeah.
So when I was at uni, we had this module where we had to go and get work experience in the fashion industry for, I think it's like 3 months.
Okay.
I had already, by the time I went to uni, I was so on it that I had already done a ton of work experience in London. So I worked at Red Magazine, I worked at ITV doing their like fashion segments. I'd done so much already that I was like, I need to do something different. So when I first started this course, I was like, next year when this module comes, I'm going to go to New York and do something in New York. And I think everyone was like, wow, I'm sure you can, like, whatever.
Yeah, but good luck.
but I did. I stayed at home. I didn't move out of home. Saved all my student loan up, and I used that money to get an internship in New York. And I went to New York and I lived there for 4 months.
Oh, wow. That is incredible. As like a uni student studying fashion, I feel like you need your own TV show. Sophia vibe.
But yeah, like I lived on campus at NYU. So while I was there during the summer, all the students aren't in the housing. So they do like intern housing. So interns from all over America lived on campus at NYU. So I got the proper like American college experience from it as well.
Oh, but that's so cool.
My dorm was at right the end of Fifth Avenue. It was an amazing location. but right next to it is this park called Washington Square Park. So it's like a small concrete park, but it's quite like a eclectic area. It's in Greenwich Village.
Nice.
So in the park, it was always like, there was a guy that used to come every day with a piano, and he would play like a grand piano in the middle of the park. And I always just think, how the hell did he get this piano here?
what like a proper piano?
Like an actual piano. And I used to think, how, because when you'd go in the evening, the piano was gone. And I was like, how did he get that here? But there was always like, you know, like a flash mob dancing or someone playing the piano, like in the corner.
Super inspirational.
Yeah, there was the old man that played chess in the corner. And I used to love it. Like, I'd go in the summer and just sit, because I didn't have a garden, I would just sit in the park and read books or like spend time on my own. That park is so magical to me. Like, it's one of my favorite places in the world.
I'm dying to go now.
Yeah, like other than that, I love Jamaica. So my granddad is Jamaican. Awesome. So I've still got family there, and we go back, you know, quite a lot. Every few years I go, and it's just the most relaxing place in the world. Like,
sunny.
It's so chilled out. Like the stresses that you have here in the UK do not even exist there. Like they don't care about these things. And yeah, it's sunny, everyone's happy. Like I love Jamaica.
I feel like that with Egypt. I feel like they're like very humbling places, just like pure, like, it's like materials don't even exist here, you know. It's just like
they don't. And like it's a weird contrast, because that's what I've chosen to do as a job. But I enjoy being there so much, and those things are completely irrelevant there.
And you have that polarity, which is amazing. Like, you almost get the best of both worlds. Like, you can enjoy the luxury and the glamour of that life, and then you can go and retreat in Jamaica and sort of enjoy.
Yeah, off the top of my head, those two places are like my
people find your work, like Instagram, website, all of that kind of stuff.
The website is tailoredstyling.com, and then I also have the same Instagram page, so @tailoredstyling, and then my personal Instagram is @_Amber Gordon _, because somebody stole Amber Gordon from me.
Oh no! So what, they actually stole it from you? Oh, it's just their name.
Yeah, they just had it before me. But I had to put an _ on either side.
It's cool. You're easy to find because you've got a good following. So I feel like you just type in Amber G and there she is.
It does come up quite quickly, yeah.
Nice, amazing. Thank you so much for chatting to me today. I absolutely loved our conversation, and I'm wishing you all the best in your future ventures and hope to see the TV show. Yeah, thanks, Amber.
All right.
I feel like the wrap up is always just like awkward. I never know how to do it. I'm like, what do I say?
You're very animated. You're so good at you know, some people are just like
I am quite an animated person. It's funny you say that, because someone the other day was like, you need to be like a kid's entertainer, because I
could kind of see that. No, you'd be wasted on that.
Oh, thanks, Amber. Have you ever done like any internships or anything like that?
I've done my fair share of internships. I think back in the day, I'm so old now.
Wasn't it your 30th recently?
Yeah, it was actually. So I turned 30 at the end of last year. So this is, you know, I would have been 17, 18. So this is like 13 years ago now. But yeah, interning was kind of one of the best ways to get into fashion, because it means that you meet people. There's so many benefits, and I did get so many jobs from doing things like this, and contacts that I made back then have actually benefited me now with my business. And it's like, you don't think back then, I'm going to make contacts that will stay with me, but you do. But I did so many of them, but you do get treated like a dog.
Yeah, I can imagine in the fashion industry as well, like proper Devil Wears Prada vibes.
I won't won't name names because it's that shameful. Like, I won't talk about exact businesses, but I've worked for very big, well-known businesses, and like one of them, you're just stuck in this tiny little cupboard with clothes,
God.
cupboards up to here, piling on top of you, and literally your job is to return the clothes they call in for shoots. So you're just literally going through paperwork and marking off clothes, packing them up and sending them back.
Oh my goodness.
And that was one of my first ones, and I soon realized that I was actually quite privileged at that internship, because with that one, they had a courier that came every day to pick things up, so all I had to do was package the bags, pack it up, the courier took it. Another company that is extremely well known actually made us physically return it, because it was cheaper for them to do it that way. So we had to go. I'm not going to say who it was, but brands would not lend to them as well because they were lower end. So brands, they had a company credit card, and they used to buy the clothes on the credit card and then make all the interns return it. And we would have to go.
What, as in physically walk?
Physically return it. So I would have to go to Zara, because their office, without giving it away, was in one area of London.
Right.
I would have to get on the tube to Oxford Street, Zara, with two of those, like those granny trolleys.
Oh, stop. Just not glam at all.
Enough clothes that I could barely even carry it, take it back to Zara, and then the sales assistants are looking at you like, you want to return 100 items? Like, are you serious? With these receipts that were like this, I'm not joking.
Oh, wow.
And once me and one of the other interns did it together, we had to do it in the rain. It was pissing with rain.
Why do they buy so many items? I think I've missed like a point there.
So it was used to do TV segments, so where they're like styling or
so like on rails. Oh my,
so it would all
that's
go on
so
the rails.
interesting.
The stylist would pick the clothes that they want to actually use, and then all of it would go back.
Oh my goodness. God, you don't even think about like the behind the scenes of things like telly, like the work that goes into that. But yeah, I think the message to that is, if you're getting into this industry, be prepared that it isn't all glam. It isn't all diamonds and Louis Vuitton.
This is a funny point as well. When I was doing those things, I used to tell myself, it's fine, just get on with it, because one day you're going to be the one sitting at the desk doing nothing, not doing nothing, but like, you're not going to be doing the heavy lifting. And then I stupidly went and started my own business where I still have to
oh wow.
I still have to pack the
this is it. This is it. Yeah, 100%. And that, I think that's the thing you sort of find, like you think, I don't want to be bossed around anymore. I want to go and do my own thing, and I'm going to tell everyone else what to do, and it's all going to be, roses and sunshine. But it's like, no, actually you create more work for yourself.
I think one day I'll get my break from packing the boxes, but at the moment it's still very much like I do a lot of everything.
You definitely will. Is that something you want to do? Do you want to expand the business? Nice. Yeah.
I've got two people that work for me at the moment.
Oh, great.
But that's more like selling. So I do a lot of the logistics side of things.
The back end.
Yeah. So probably the next thing would be somebody to help me out with the back end, the packing and the organisation and stuff.
Perfect. Yeah, 100%. I'm sure that will happen. That's exciting to see the business expand and like to hire and amazing.
It's a very strange feeling. Like I forget that I'm in charge. So like they'll ask me questions like, oh, what do I do about this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I know the answer to that, don't I? Like, what do you do about that?
There's a lot of responsibility that comes with it, which I think is very easy to forget, but the rewards pay off. You get to jet around the world, which is cool, and you live your life on your own terms, which I think that's why people choose this way.
Well, like I said, I hated employment, so it is the dream for me to be able to make my own rules and do
Definitely. Amazing.